Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Zero Trust event today. Thanks for joining us. We've got several sessions set up for the day, but we're kicking it off with Sara Hawkins. It's my pleasure to introduce Sara, a senior consultant here at Oxford Computer Group. Sara's been in the identity management and cybersecurity space for over 11 years. As senior identity consultant at IBM, focused on migration and implementation, as a cybersecurity lead consultant at Wipro, and most recently at Oxford, assigned to some of our largest and most strategic customers. Zero trust isn't a new concept, but as the remote workforce has exploded, so has the attacks against remote users. We've seen a resurgence of interest in the concepts of zero trust, and the implementation of zero trust has evolved to meet the needs of large remote workforces. Sara will be talking at a high level about zero trust, and our next session with Frank Ureña will take a deeper dive into how Microsoft implements a zero trust architecture. Sara, thanks for all the time in preparing this presentation today, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. All of us have heard the phrase zero trust. Zero trust is a real concept for the remote growing workforce. Today, we will touch on why zero trust is increasing in popularity, what zero trust is, how it can be leveraged to increase your security posture, and what are some key areas. We will also look at zero trust guiding principles, maturity models, best practices, and incorporating some of those into getting started. So why is zero trust increasing in popularity? Well, thank you, COVID-19. Lately, the growth of the mobile workforce and widespread adoption of public cloud services has rendered perimeter-based security models outdated. Even though zero trust has been a security concept for several years, the world has had to adapt in an extremely elevated time frame. An organization's applications and data are likely to still exist both inside and outside the traditional firewall. Assumptions that users, their devices on the network are safe is obsolete security concept. And the reality is they are not any safer than those on the outside. Traditional perimeter controls do little to prevent an attacker from moving laterally on the network after gaining initial access. Organizations which rely solely on those traditional on-premise network controls, like firewalls and VPNs, lack the visibility, solution integration, and agility to deliver timely end-to-end security coverage. Corporate networks typically give too many people too much access. Zero trust effectively adapts to the modern workplace. Corporate applications and data are moving from on-premise to hybrid and cloud environments. Today's organizations need a new security model, a security model that more effectively adapts to the complexity of the modern environment, embraces the mobile workforce, and protects people, devices, apps, and data wherever they are located. Welcome, Zero Trust. Zero Trust represents a clear pivot in thinking of cybersecurity. Rather than defending only a single enterprise-wide perimeter, the Zero Trust approach moves the perimeter to every network, system, user, and device within and outside the organization. This movement is enabled by strong identities, multi-factor authentication, trusted endpoints, network segmentation, access controls, advanced threat protection, and regulated user access to sensitive data and systems. These are just a few of the security controls that Zero Trust embraces. Let's acknowledge cybercrime costs are increasing. Abuse of trust is at the heart of many of the data breaches making news headlines on a regular basis. A report conducted by Cybersecurity Ventures predicts that cybercrime will cost the world over $6 trillion annually by 2021. The 2020 IBM Cost of Data Breach report concluded that the average total cost of a breach was $3.86 million, as well as taking 280 days to detect and contain the breach. This report, conducted prior to COVID-19 pandemic, showed healthcare within the United States suffered the highest cost. In fact, in 2019, CBS News reported that a single patient record can sell for $1,000 on the internet. So what exactly is Zero Trust? Zero Trust is also known as boundaryless security. It was actually created in 2010 by John Kindervag. He based it on the realization that traditional security models operate on the outdated assumption that everything inside the organization's network should be and is trusted. Under this traditional trust model, it was assumed that a user's identity is not compromised and that all users act responsibly and can be trusted. He created the Zero Trust model, recognizing that trust is a vulnerability. Once on the network, users, including the malicious ones, are free to move laterally and access whatever data they are not limited to. Lateral movement allows users to access any resource, app, data, device, etc. that they have been authorized to access. And again, the traditional network gives too many people too much access. Zero Trust is a cybersecurity strategy that addresses the shortcomings of outdated security approaches by removing the assumption of trust altogether. It is not only a cybersecurity strategy, it is also a security initiative and ultimately a security best practice. At its core, the Zero Trust model is about eliminating the concept of trust, inside or outside your organization. This is because trust is a vulnerability. It eliminates the concept of trust by using a trust level equals zero approach. The point of Zero Trust is not to make networks, cloud, or endpoints more trusted. It is to eliminate that trust altogether. If your role involves any security decisions, I urge you, go get banners, wall plaques, t-shirts, or even a tattoo, whatever you can do as a daily reminder that trust is vulnerability and Zero Trust eliminates the concept of trust. Know it and live it, as your organizational security depends upon it. So how will adopting a Zero Trust model improve security? Instead of assuming everything behind the corporate firewall is safe, Zero Trust assumes breach and verifies each request as though it originates from the open network, regardless where the request originates or what resource it accesses. Zero Trust teaches us to never trust, always verify. Every access request is fully authenticated, authorized, and encrypted before granting access. We often hear the question, what is the difference between authentication and authorization? Authentication is a verification of the identity. Authorization is a verification of access to resources and data. Again, utilizing these controls can minimize lateral movements within your organization. Breaches often have been tied to internal causes, either malicious or accidental, which means sensitive business and customer data must be protected by giving users the least amount of access needed for them to do their jobs. Microsegmentation and least privilege access principles are applied to minimize lateral movement. Rich intelligence and analytics are utilized to detect and respond to access anomalies in real time. Also, integrations with SIM and workflow automation platforms can provide additional visibility into users and applications. The new never trust, always verify model is not about making a system trusted, but instead about eliminating that trust. A Zero Trust security model relies on automated enforcement of security policies, also known as signals. These enforcements are used to ensure compliant access decisions throughout the digital estate. The framework of controls built into your security solutions and tools enables your organization to fine-tune access policies with contextual user, device, application location, and session risk information to better control how users access corporate resources and how back-end resources communicate. These policies are used to decide whether to allow access, deny access, or control access with additional authentication challenges such as MFA, terms of use, or access restrictions. Zero Trust uses a number of technologies to increase the granularity of access to sensitive data and systems. Examples are, but are not limited to, identity and access management, role-based access control, multi-factor authentication, and encryption. In short, Zero Trust teaches us to eliminate the trust by enforcing additional levels of authentication and authorization. Security also goes down to the file system and its permissions within devices. Again, eliminating device trust is also a key area. Following this talk, Frank Urena will discuss how Microsoft's M365 E5 platform addresses these key areas. Zero Trust incorporates 3 guiding principles: verify explicitly, use of least privilege access, and always assume breach. It consists of 6 pillars, also known as foundational elements, including identities, people, services, and IoT components. It is critical to establish who the identity is before any other transactions. If you aren't sure of the identity, no other security access controls will matter. Devices, apps, and APIs, data, infrastructure. Zero Trust considers the identity of the user, the state of their device, the apps they're using, and the sensitivity of the data they're trying to access. Networks. Establishing controls to segment, monitor, analyze, and encrypt end-to-end traffic is essential. Zero Trust reduces your attack surface by eliminating older, less secure protocols. It limits access entry points and exercises more significant control of administrative access on your resources. The Zero Trust maturity model can help determine where you are in your Zero Trust initiative and key areas of focus. This is not the only cybersecurity maturity model, and depending on your industry, you may have to adapt to other models. In fact, maturity models have been in use since the late 80s. Earlier models were mainly created to improve software development processes, but have been evolving to include security initiatives at their cores. This slide addresses the typical maturity level as well as being used by Microsoft. Traditional, just starting; advanced, making progress along your journey; and optimal, advanced improvements in all key areas. Let's explore some best practices for your security investments and keys to successes. Grant users access to only those applications they need for their role. The access should be based on entitlement, user identity, device health, authentication, and authorization. Utilizing continuous access reviews. Again, this is going to enforce least privilege by allowing only users access to what they need to perform their job. Emerging technologies are allowing for easier access reviews, including reporting and self-service functions. Achieve strong authentication by enabling MFA and SSO as the core of your access strategy. Incorporate these technologies across your entire enterprise. Reuse of credentials significantly increases attack surface risk. MFA provides an extra level of verification and security. When combined with SSO, it allows the user to use one set of credentials. Reducing the use of credentials, limiting credential exposure, providing greater protection and a better user experience. Define acceptable access policies for your resources and enforce them with a consistent security policy engine that provides both governance and insights. Isolate your network, applications, and access architecture from public networks. Move beyond simple, centralized, network-based perimeter to a comprehensive and distributed micro-segmented network using software-defined micro-perimeters. Implement WAF internally as well as externally. WAF can protect internal applications and their data from application layer attacks as well as injection attacks. Invest in an automated alerting and remediation system. Utilize cloud intelligence and AI for all available signals to detect and respond to access anomalies in real time. Usage of data classification and protection to discover, classify, protect, and monitor sensitive data, minimizing your exposure to malicious or accidental attacks. Some keys to success include strategically architecting your technology needs. Start small, scale and scope as needed. Look for quick wins according to your maturity level. Consider your user experience while increasing their productivity. Implement strong user and device authentication. Remember, no one and no device can be trusted. Gain visibility into what components, including open source components, are used by and within your applications. Always incorporate Zero Trust into any digital transformation project, including its redesign work. We can, for example, briefly look at how we can architect a least privilege model using the traditional Active Directory administrative model and adapting that model to increase security going into hybrid and cloud environments. The traditional AD admin model was created for an on-premise infrastructure. It is a three-tier approach for enterprise assets in its administration. This model can be adapted and implemented for use within hybrid and cloud environments. A tier 0 was your direct control of your identities, including your entire Active Directory forest. A tier 0 administrator would manage control of all assets at any level. Tier 1, control of server operating systems, cloud services, and enterprise applications. A tier 1 administrator could manage levels tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 2 had control of users and workstations devices. Tier 2 administrators could manage only at their level. This would include help desk staff and computer support staff. Using the Active Directory administration model, we can see that users and administrators can only access and manage the resources they need for their role. So how can we adapt the traditional AD administrative model for hybrid and cloud? As we incorporate emerging technologies, we continue the AD administrative model and bring cloud-based access using such services as role-based access control for administration of cloud resources. These include resource groups, apps, networks, and VMs. Users should only be granted access to the systems and resources needed for their roles, based on the tier level. Using PIM, we can now securely utilize role-based access to our Azure resources. With PIM, we can assign individuals and groups with only the access they need for their role. Just enough access limits the risk of compromised accounts. With just enough access, you can configure management endpoints and PowerShell commandlets. This can give you peace of mind that a user cannot connect to a server with admin credentials. A few benefits include reduction in the number of administrators using virtual or group managed service accounts that are performing privileged actions on behalf of users. You can also limit privileged service accounts by using other emerging technologies like Azure Managed Identities. You can limit what users can do, including commandlets, functions, and other commands they can run. You can understand what your users are doing with transcripts and logs showing executed actions during their sessions. These are but a few of the additional measures you can take to secure your hybrid and cloud environments while also incorporating the traditional AD administrative tiered model, growing it with your needs and securing access to sensitive systems and data with least privilege access. All this knowledge can help you with accomplishing some of your Zero Trust goals. So how do you get started on your Zero Trust journey? Understand that Zero Trust cannot be achieved overnight. There is no single approach nor technology. There is, however, technology pieces that fit together to ensure that only securely authenticated users and devices have access to targeted applications and data. Build a governance structure that aligns to your IT and business strategies and goals. Know your protect surface. This includes assets, applications, services, and data, both at rest and in transit. If you're an application owner, you should know what that app is doing as it's doing it, what sensitive data and resources it is accessing or exposing, what servers, other apps, databases, networks, etc. it's interacting with. All those elements determine your application's attack surface, and securing all components is key. Zero Trust relies heavily on signal and solution integration to be successful. This is a great time to work towards providing greater visibility into your threat landscape and embracing security automation. The SOC should have multi-tier incident response team in place that uses advanced threat detection and AI-driven alert management to deliver prioritized security alerts. Response to common incidents, such as denying access to infected devices, should be automated to improve response times and reduce risk exposure. Zero Trust controls and technology should be implemented across the 6 foundational elements. The 6 foundational elements are a source of a signal, a control plane, a critical resource to be defended. Take a phased approach that targets specific areas for change based on your Zero Trust maturity, available resources, and priorities. It will be important to consider each investment carefully and align them with your current business needs. Several organizations have based the start of their Zero Trust journey on their user identities. Authentication is at the heart of security. Knowing where you are in your maturity level will help determine where to begin or areas to strengthen. Providing employees and users with the security knowledge to stay up to date with threat trends and nurturing a security positive culture will help with reducing internal, non-malicious data exposures and breaches. Again, get those plaques, t-shirts, or tattoos for your employees. Digital transformation is a reality, and enterprises must embrace a security model to successfully evolve. Let us help and guide you upon your journey. Contact your OCG sales team members and ask about our Zero Trust questionnaire, or how we can help you secure your service accounts with emerging technologies. Take the Microsoft Maturity Assessment. Use the assessment tool to identify where to start your Zero Trust journey, or what key areas you need to be focused on. The new norm requires us to adapt to Zero Trust. Prepare your journey and be successful in key areas for your industry. We have covered many concepts and how they can fit into your Zero Trust initiative. Zero Trust can be mapped back to different industry compliance standards. We do not have time to talk about all the different compliance frameworks today, but for more detail, please check out servicetrust.microsoft.com.
Thanks so much for that presentation, Sara. Exceedingly informative. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to be speaking with Frank Urania, who's going to take these Zero Trust concepts and take them to more technical level as they're applied within the Microsoft Azure platform and within Office 365 workloads. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next presentation.